Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that we're going to talk about right now is the rest of Thomas Massey's clips that he gave in the Judiciary Committee. I hit one portion, and I told you I'd follow up because there's a lot more greatness, and we're about to hit it right now. Everything will be linked in the description box below, and of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on if you are down to spread the 2A to this generation and the next, and thank you for that consideration. And this content is made possible by American Hartford Gold. I'm going to say a quick word from them, and then we are going to hit. Content today is brought to you by American Hartford Gold. And brothers and sisters, with everything popping off around the world, wars cracking off. We've got inflation issues. We've got stock market volatility. We have cash concerns. We have oil concerns. It's a good time to take a look and at least know your options with American Hartford Gold. They are dedicated to offering gold, silver, platinum, coins, and bars for your investing needs. Whether you want to do it delivered to your door or you want an IRA, Roth IRA, 401k, TSP, they've got options. This is something you guys should check out. At American Hartford Gold, they aim to educate clients about investments in the precious metal industry, strive to provide unparalleled customer service built on trust, integrity, and absolute transparency, while holding a goal of achieving 100% customer satisfaction. Click the link in the description or call 844-727-3199. That's 844-727-3199 or text Langley to 65532. Again, that's 844-727-3199 or text Langley to 65532. All right, beautiful people, we have got to dive into the rest of Representative Thomas Massey's clips. Now, he's a very strong proponent of the Second Amendment. It's no secret. He's extremely strong on this regard. And I showed you one clip where he was talking about the exclusivity for people with badges to have gun rights, but not the population. Let me show you the rest of the clip because I got to piece out a few different portions here. Listen to this. This is all clips from GOA's Twitter feed. Check him out if you want, but let's get it. Credit where it's due. Thomas Massey.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to support this bill, but reluctantly so. We should not just extend these or acknowledge these rights for law enforcement officers. Every individual in America who's not a criminal should be afforded these rights. Gun-free zones make people less safe. They just advertise sitting ducks. That's what the Gun-Free School Zone Act does. It was passed in the 90s, and it hasn't made kids safer at all. In fact, it's made them less safe, and it creates this conflicting patchwork of laws where the default situation is that law-abiding citizens are criminals just for getting near a school. So
now, of course, he's hitting the gun school free gun zone thing, right? Well, if there's a zone that's gun-free zone, like you said, you're making yourself a target because there's guaranteed no opposition there. There's a reason that a majority and a vast majority of all tragic incidents occur in gun-free zones because criminals know there's no resistance. They're like electricity. They will always follow the path of least resistance. They're cowards. They're looking to take an action on someone who did nothing to them in order to make a statement or take a blame out of the world for some grievance they have, which they did nothing on. The individual victims did nothing on. So they're flat out cowards. So what's a coward going to do? Going to go walk into a police station or walk into an army base? Probably not likely. Most likely going to go where they think that no one legal is going to be carrying a gun, so they're safer, so they can do what they want. That's just the reality of the situation. Criminals equal electricity, path of least resistance. I think we landed that point. But he said some other things here.
Written and introduced legislation.
Whoops. We said some other stuff here, which he really hits, and this is... I really like this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments field because we got two more clips of what he said.
Written and introduced legislation to end the Gun-Free School Zone Act, which, by the way, was ruled unconstitutional at one point. And then it was rewritten by Congress and reintroduced. I think it's still unconstitutional. But I've also sponsored legislation, or at least voted for legislation, to get rid of the gun-free zones in national parks. Why should somebody who's visiting land that is owned by the taxpayer give up their constitutional rights just simply to visit a park? Are we making anybody more safe by saying you can't carry a firearm, you can't exercise your God-given right to defend yourself in a national park? It seems ridiculous. It should be the other way around. If this is a national park and the Second Amendment applies nationally, then that is the one place where you shouldn't be prohibited. All places you shouldn't be prohibited, but that is specifically one of the places that the Second Amendment should apply to.
He's got a valid point. Why, if something is a nationally owned piece of land and the Second Amendment applies nationally to citizens of this great country, doesn't it make sense that a national park, a national piece of land, would carry the natural rights of the nationalized citizen? Doesn't that make sense? The simplicity is why I'm hitting this, because it's so simple. Why are we not allowed to have guns in national parks? It makes no sense. It's a national park owned by the public national government, which is supposed to be able to protect and not be able to infringe upon your Second Amendment rights. No, something for food for thought. But this last one, I really want to hit this piece, because this third one, he goes into a bunch of case law from the Supreme Court. He mentions a few really amazing cases, and his point is really crystal clear, which is why I wanted to hit this. Let's get the third clip, and then we will wrap this.
That the Second Amendment should apply to. And furthermore, we had the 2008 Supreme Court case which was D.C. versus Heller. It said that the Second Amendment doesn't just apply to the National Guard, for instance. It applies to all Americans. That is what the 2008 Heller decision said. And then in 2010, the McDonald versus Chicago extended that to apply to all the states through the incorporation doctrine. So the Second Amendment is actually a restriction just not on the federal government, but also on the states. They can't infringe on your Second Amendment rights. So, I support the bill, but the problem is, here we are carving out special rights for people that carry a badge, when in fact these are rights that were enshrined, protected, given to us by God, but protected by our founding fathers in the Constitution, a document that we've sworn an oath to defend and uphold.
The reason that I wanted to hit this one is because this is one of the most effective ways that we can argue the Second Amendment point out there. Supreme Court case law. D.C. tried to say you can't have a gun in your home. Supreme Court, through the Heller decision in 2008, said, yeah, you can. The federal government and the states cannot infringe upon your rights. And then 2 years later, in 2010, the McDonald case affirmed it and expanded it to all states. So why are we talking about common sense gun reforms and common sense gun legislation if they've all been ruled unconstitutional and it's clear what case law says at the SCOTUS? It starts to put a lot of questions in your brain. Well, then what are they doing in blue states if it applies to all states? What they're doing is they're pushing as far as they can, and they're going to carry it as much water as they can with it to get as far as they can until the SCOTUS slaps them. It's basically throw everything at the wall that you can, get our gun control as we can see fit, and then we'll beat the SCOTUS to the punch because we'll just have so much out there. That's what's happening. But Massey delivered that eloquently. I hope you hear what you guys think in the comments below. I will see you on the next one, and I am Braden. Thanks for tuning in.